Hello, everyone. This is your girl, Erica Wilson, the host of the Had to Happen show. You knew that you had to turn to God because He's the only one that could get you out.
Such a blessing to be able to sit with you, son.
Like in the isolation, sometimes we feel lonely or not being able to fit in, or this person is not going to bother with me or whatever. But that is the time when God says, "Be still."
Right.
And know that I am God. There you go. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm a single mom with 2 kids, struggling, rape victim, homeless, robbed at gunpoint. All those things had to happen to me to birth me for my purpose today. And that's why I'm standing here today giving back.
We knew then that we was on a long road to recovery. But I say that to say this. It had to happen.
Great day, everyone. We're here live today with the girl, Erica Wilson, and it had to happen, guys. Listen, our topic for today is catching flights and not feelings. And I have one of my good friends that's on, Mr. Ron Butler, which is an amazing young man, amazing person all around. And yes, I am going to put you out there, Mr. Butler. I've been trying to get Mr. Butler on the show forever, but how many of us know that God is an on-time God? So it wasn't about Ron accepting or Erica wanting him to be here. It was about when God wanted it to happen. So with that being said, Mr. Butler, welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about getting on with you, and I love what you're doing with your platform. We talk about it all the time, and I'm very impressed. So, I just want to say thank you guys for bringing me on. And
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you so much for accepting. But what we want to do here at It Had to Happen, we normally like to start with our journey, a little bit of a pain, and then tell us what your purpose is. But however Spirit move us, that's how God is going to go. That's how it's going to go, however we flow. But let's start off with telling the audience, who is Ron Butler?
I want to start by saying just genuine, hardworking, family oriented, kind-hearted, go-getter, leader. And I think that's the best way to describe myself in terms of, just who I am and what God has done for me in terms of the position that I'm in. And but that's a little bit about me in terms of, who I think I am or who I know I am. Let me change that.
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, I love how you came out and you said family man. You know, I'm big on family. You already know that because you know me from way back. I
Right.
love, love, love that. And
Right.
everything that you said that you were, that's what you are, you
Absolutely.
know, and that's what you exemplify. And I do thank you for that being so genuine. Every time that we came across one another or spoke, it was always very, very genuine. And I thank you for that. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
But
that.
what I want to do, Mr. Butler, I want you to take us back a little bit because they
Okay.
hear who you are now. But
Right.
what it is that you do, and did you ever see yourself doing this in your younger years? Was this your dream to be doing what you do?
Well, first of all, let me say I love what I do. I love the position that I'm in. It was a journey. It still continues to be a journey to this day. There's a lot of bumps and bruises. There's a lot of hurdles that I faced in terms of just getting to where I am today. Starting back, in my early years, in terms of just kind of figuring out what it is that I wanted to pursue and what it was going to take to get there. And trust and believe it was not an easy journey. I had many obstacles, but just starting out, I've always been involved in sports from high school, actually going back to Pop Warner days and playing, on the park and, playing for, high school and taking that journey. I started coaching, I want to say at about the age of 22, 23. And there was something that was there that I felt like I needed to do more. I was in a position of, I guess you can say, authority in a sense at a young age. And I had to I just asked myself every day, like, listen, man, it's got to be something better. It's got to be something better. It's got to be something that you're supposed to be doing, that God wants you to do. And I knew that I would have to find out what it was, but I didn't have all the answers right there. So, just thinking back, it was really, for me, it was about helping the young men whose lives I was involved in as a coach, really being able to get an opportunity to go to college. Now, being that I was, a high school coach, a lot of people look at us and say, well, you don't really make a lot of money doing those things, being a high school coach. And that's true. But it wasn't about the money for me. It was more about the satisfaction of knowing that I helped this young man and his family pursue his dreams and his goals. And I think that was the driving force behind, me today in terms of, how I do business and, just being a part of, my clients' lives and their families' lives. That's where it really started for me. So I was that guy that was, taking the players and packing them all in the van. And we're saying, hey, we're going to hit the road for a week and go see some different universities, go to some different camps. And then to take it a step further, was really about me developing those relationships with those programs, those, football programs that ultimately would offer those guys, those young men, scholarships to attend those universities. So the satisfaction for me was seeing those guys be able to live out their dreams. And I just kind of took that and ran with it in terms of, hey, there's something else that I need to be doing. And so I got into the agent space, I want to say at about the age of, my late 20s. And I knew that, there was going to be some opportunity for me to be there because I was so good with people. I'm definitely a people person. And I think that's a gift and a curse. But but I try to do my best to use my voice and use my platform wisely. And ultimately, that was kind of what got me started, was just being a high school coach and wanting to help kids, take that next step and getting a college degree or potentially even playing sports at the next level. So that's what it really did it for me.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to take it back when you were speaking about being a high school coach, and you said you don't make a lot of money being a high school coach, but
Right.
that was your stepping stone.
Correct.
You knew where you wanted to go, so that was like a stepping stone for you. And
Correct.
being there and humbling yourself because it wasn't about the money at the time; it was about the kids, which is
Correct.
so awesome. And especially nowadays, where we see so many of our youth just out there. you
Mhm.
know, and so many of them are talented. So you want to have somebody that's a positive role model, one. And two, you want to have somebody that really cares, that's like a father figure, even though you may not be that much older than them, but
Mhm.
still they see this positive light that they can look up to and know that, yes, it is somebody that out here that cares about me. Because you never know what a kid is going through at home.
Of
So for
course.
you to take these kids and gather these kids and then take them on the road, to take them to all these different kind of camps. Because I remember when my kids was coming up, that's what I did.
Yep.
We was camp hopping,
Let's go.
but
You gotta go.
right, so I can only imagine you taking a bus full. Oh
Right.
my gosh, of
Right.
young men. So I salute to you for that, because that's
Thank
something that we need it so bad, Ron, because it's so many kids that's lost out here.
you. Right.
Um, and then, have you ever had a kid on your team where you knew that kid didn't want to play, but the mother or father may was pushing them to play, but they was just doing it for their parents and study themselves?
I think I may have ran into that maybe once or twice. I think that um, when you're growing up, you're still trying to figure out who you are. You're still trying to figure out what it is that you're interested in doing. A lot of times our parents want what they want for us. And a lot of times we're not really receptive to it because that may not be what we want. And I find that, dealing with even the athletes today, they're in a position of, hey, at this level, we should be, you should be a professional. And, from time to time, you may have a guy that still doesn't understand what that means. And it's just like with the organizations, the organizations are looking at it saying, hey, I want you here and I want you to be a professional, but there's a certain way that you have to conduct yourself. And if you don't really want to be here, then kind of keep doing the things that you're doing. And that ultimately leaves you out the door. So I think a lot of times, it's kind of like the authority figure, as a parent, or the authority figure as a GM, or, I guess you could say a team executive. They want certain things for you, but if you don't want to pursue it a certain way, or you don't want what they want for you, you may have somebody that's rebellious. So, I run into that a lot, now. And even, as a high school coach, I think I may have had one or two episodes where guys didn't really want to play the game and just, hey, my mom wants me to be here, my dad wants me to be here. And,
Wow.
maybe there's a legacy thing in terms of the name. I have seen that maybe a few times, coming up.
Oh my God. Wow. And see, that's deep right there. That is so deep. And the thing about it is, I know when we were going through the process of Alan, going from high school to college, and then from
Mhm.
college to the NFL, every step is different. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? But the bigger step is them going into the league. It's like you really need to sit down and study, especially the parents. They need to know so many things, that the do's, the don'ts, all of that. They need to really educate themselves on what's going to happen in this next level, because everything is not glitz and glamour. And they
Correct.
do need to understand that. But tell me the difference. What's the difference between, okay, high school, college, NFL?
Okay. So high school, it's, and you've probably seen it. I mean, with the players, say, for example, when Allen was coming out, I'm sure Allen was very dominant in terms of, his level of play, who he played against. He was probably always the best player on the field. When you transition from high school to, say, college, now you have a group of guys that are, they could potentially have the same types of athletic traits, but one may be a little bit more gifted than the other one. When they transition from high school to college, it's really about business. I don't want to use the word business, but there's a lot of politics that goes along with that. And then as you're transitioning from college to the pros, where everybody's good,
That's right.
it now becomes business. So you have to understand it's not just talent and, who's the best player on the field at all times. It's talent plus business plus, like I said, being a professional. So I think that there's 3 different phases. There's 3 different chapters. And at the end of the day, when you get to that highest chapter, which is the pro level, it's really business. And if you don't have your business in order, ultimately, you'll have a short stint.
Wow. And see, that's what a lot of parents are, people do not know.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to tell them, high school, everybody good. College, everybody may be better.
Mm-hmm.
NFL, everybody's great.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
basically have to go out there and get it. It's nothing
Right.
is given. You have to definitely go out there and get it. And a lot of times too, you may feel, okay, I'm this great player. I know what I could bring to the team, this, that, and the other. And you get there and you're coming in young and you seeing these 20 and 30-year-old big men
Grown men.
that grown men that you're
Grown
going
men.
up against, and you're like,
Right.
oh
Right.
boy, And that's the thing, the mental have to be there. So
Right.
how do you speak to your guys in the form of keeping them mental on that, on a good level? Because
Right.
you're transitioning, you basically leaving home. You've been in college, okay? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you've been in college, but now you're really on your own.
You're
You know what I'm saying?
definitely
Everything coming out your pocket now.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you keep the guys mental? Like, how do you talk to them and keeping them mental?
Well, what I try to do, or what I try to do over the years, is give them examples, because these guys have played with. They have friends that are probably in the league. They have friends that were in the league at some point, and you have guys that come back and kind of tell stories about what to expect or certain things that they went through. But it's really trying to educate them on the process, because you can give a bunch of examples, you can talk to them to their face turns red, but ultimately they're not going to really understand or really get exactly what you're talking about until you experience it for yourself. And I remember having a conversation, I want to say it was about 7 years ago, and there was a young man who was drafted, who was an Pro Bowl player. Very good young man that was out of the state of Florida, from Miami. And I talked to him about having your business in order, where, hey, I recommended him, hey, you need to get a financial person to make sure your affairs are in order. You want to make sure you go about, vetting the process of who to hire to make sure they're the right person for you. And their thing was, hey, I don't really feel like I need anybody to, manage this or manage that, until they get there and they realize I don't really have a lot of time to do it, because I'm so focused on football. Football is year round, especially your first year. It's about you going in there, learning the playbook. It's about you getting acclimated to the new city that you're in. And you're in a new space. You're in a locker room full of pro players, and you don't necessarily know what really to expect. And I think that that's one thing that you can't really teach. It's almost like you can talk to them, but they have to experience that for themselves.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And okay, even when they're going into these locker rooms and they see these guys, thank God they're not able to haze them anymore. Because you remember back in the days, what the rookies had to do.
Right. Well, what they're making them do now, they may not put hands on them or tape them up. Hey, listen, we rookie, dinner's on you tonight, and now you realize, okay, I got a $5,000 tab or a $10,000 tab, and I got to pay for it. So that's their way of hazing.
Yes.
Yep.
But the thing is that you don't have a choice.
Right.
This is what you have to do inside of your group, whatever group that you're in, receiver group, linebacker group, whatever it is. This is what you have to do, because look, you're the rookie on the team. So
Absolutely.
Do you rather take the tying up and all of that, or do you rather pay this big old tab?
I'd rather go ahead and cut the check. I let my financial advisor know, hey, listen, I got to take these guys out. That's fine. I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
It might shave your head or shave your eyebrows or some crazy mess. Next thing you know, you really upset.
Right. I'm telling you, they used to do some crazy things back in the day.
Man.
So, were you ever an athlete yourself?
I was an athlete myself. I actually didn't play at the professional level. but I know, there was certain things that I was supposed to do. I believe that this is what God intended for me to do.
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing. When you have that player, right, that may have made it all the way up into the league, you
Right.
understand? The pro level. And they just so happen to fall by the wayside. Where do you go? How do you start over? Where, a lot of people don't see outside of football. A lot of guys don't see what you want to be, a football player,
Right.
which football player, but not even that they fall by the wayside. You got to understand NFL is not for long. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
By the
Correct.
grace of God, so many people get, so many years out of it.
Mhm.
But you have to also understand too that the NFL is not for long. I mean, you just basically one injury or something like that away, or it's crazy. So as an agent, do you guys coach your guys on, well, you did say it, you kind of educate them on getting their affairs in order, which is great. That is something so good. And not only when you said like they going in as a rookie, they're going to a new city, they're going to a new team, they going fresh out of college, going into
Right.
this locker room. But what happens after those certain amount of weeks? They put you up when you first go.
Uh-huh.
Now it's like, okay, I have to find somewhere to stay. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Because you go,
Right.
trust me, I get those calls all the time. Hey, I got to move out of this hotel. Season's getting ready to start. So I know exactly what you mean. I think that honestly, as you go through that process, vetting out different agents, and one thing I will say about my team and I is that we do a very good job of educating guys before they actually sign, whether it's with us or whether it's with someone else, about post-career planning. Okay, because the thing is, in the NFL, the average career is about 3.5 to 4 years long. Okay, whether it's an injury or whether it's a team thought you were this and you were that, and now you find yourself out of the league based on whether it's talent or something different. But you also have to understand that there's, like I talked about, from high school to college to pros, there's different chapters. So say when you get to chapter 4 is once you exit the league, how are you preparing yourself for that? So what we try to do now is we try to implement the system where you're helping guys transition from pros to, I guess you can say, regular civilian life, and what to expect from that. And a lot of times, like I said, it's 3.5 to 4 years. So let's just say you might be 25 years old, you might be 26 years old, and you're still very young. And even with guys retiring, let's say a guy plays 12 to 13 years in the NFL, that probably means he's retiring at 33, 34 years old. At the end of the day, that's still young. You still got a lot of life to live. So I really stress, preparing for after football while you're still playing football. You get what I'm saying? A lot of times guys don't understand, like, okay, football is going to end at some point. You've been playing it for pretty much all of your life, but it's going to end. And before it ends, let me start getting all of my ducks in order. And that way, hey, you know what? I'm not in a position of what am I going to do next? So we've really been stressing that, especially as of lately. There are different types of programs that, that the NFLPA assists with. And these things go on, as these guys are in the league. Like there's questions and there's answers. So we just try to educate those guys on how that stuff works in terms of post-career.
Yeah, and too, Ron, I was sitting here thinking, not just post-career, what if one came into the league, got drafted early and didn't finish their education? Like with Allen, that wasn't an option for him. He must, finish his 4 years.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, but
I know who his mama is. I know who his mama is. You're going to get that paper, boy. You're going to get that. Yes, ma'am.
So,
I know.
Right. So what happens if you have this kid, this young man, I'm not going to call him kid. You have this young man who, say, went in early.
Mm-hmm.
How long is that contract? your first, if you get drafted into the league?
Your first contract normally, your first contract normally is for 4 years. If you're an undrafted player, it could be for 3 years.
Okay, so 3 to 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just don't work out for you anymore.
Right.
Like, what happens then? What do you have to fall back on? Are you kind of like coaching your kids on, or the young men on stressing their education and how important it is, because that's something that nobody can ever take from you. So my thing is, are you telling these kids, okay, well, go back, and it may be just one credit. It may be just one, it's just one credit.
Right.
So do you speak to the kids about this? Because some kids, a lot of times they come from single parent homes.
Right.
A lot of times the kid is struggling, and they just want to go into the league to be able to take care of their family or whatever it may be, take care of themselves.
They're in survival mode.
Exactly. So what happens as far as the educational side of it? What are you telling your guys as far as that?
Well, like I talked about a second ago, as I sit down with, let's just say guys that are getting ready to go into the league, or getting ready to go into the draft, and I sit down with their parents, I always ask them the question of, how far are you from graduating? I actually just did a meeting the other day. I'm going to say it was on Monday. And I asked the young man, I said, well, how far are you from graduating? They said, oh, probably, I'm going to be finished in the spring. But what happens is, as the fall season ends and you go into the new year, if a team is a bowl eligible team, then they'll play, December bowl, and then it's time for them to go to their training, whatever location that they're going for their actual training. They don't really have a lot of time to focus on school because they're so focused on the training piece that there isn't a lot of time to dedicate to the education part of it, whether it's 1 credit, 2 credits, 10 credits. But I always stress the fact, just like you said, that's the one thing that can't be taken away from you. And I was one of those guys that actually graduated late. I had to go back to school, finish school. I had to focus on, hey, you know what? You have a certain goal that you're trying to reach. In order for you to get there, you have to have that piece of paper. So I always try to stress that, whether I'm talking to clients, or I'm talking to parents, or if I'm just doing, a seminar or I'm speaking in front of a group of kids, I always stress the importance of education, because that's the one thing that at the end of the day, when you're applying for these jobs, is going to be necessary for a lot of jobs are going to be necessary for you to have that piece of paper in order to further your work situation. So I always stress it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I'm telling you, like you say, you still, 28 or so, between 28, 33, that's still young. You still need to get out there and get it, because what if you wasn't a good steward of your money? You have to, then you have this certain lifestyle that you want to try and keep up. Oh my gosh, like in the real world, I don't know about that happening unless you have that piece of paper and being able to get a great job, so you have these rookies that come in, and you said in your rookie season, football is year round.
So think about it. As soon as the college football season is over, okay, let's just say it's January, guys are leaving the day after the bowl game and they're reporting to their training facility. Okay, they're preparing for the combine, they're preparing for their pro day.
Right.
So you're still doing football related activities. Even if you're not on a team, you're still preparing yourself to get drafted. Okay, so that period is, let's just call it 8 weeks. So from January to March, we're talking training every day. We're talking combine. We're talking pro days. That's from January. We're talking all-star games. That's from January all the way through March. Then you have the draft period that's coming up. Okay, so after the draft, as soon as you get drafted or the draft is over and say you go undrafted, that next week you're leaving to go to this new city. Okay, once you get to that new city, you're going through mini camp. Once you get through that mini camp, you're going through OTAs. Once you go through OTAs, you're going back to camp, your player development camp. Okay, then you'll get a small break, a little window to where you're still training, but you potentially be able to leave the facility or leave the city that you're in and go back home, but you're still training. And then once that window is, once that period is done, now you're going to training camp. So all of these guys are now in training camp, and this is still your rookie season. After training camp, you got a full season of football. So if you think about it, from the time that you're done playing college ball and you go into the pros, it's a year-round situation until you get to after your last regular season game or your playoff game or the Super Bowl or whatever it is. Then you'll finally get a real break.
Wow. But I'm going to correct you on something.
Okay.
Not leaving a week. Alan left the very next day, which was on Mother's Day.
It's time to go. It's time to go. We got to go to work, Mom.
Mr. Butler, I went to church, and I'm talking about I never bawled my eyes out so much.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh my gosh, I came home. I'm talking about eyes are red and swollen. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really real, you know?
It's really real.
And when I got back to take him to the airport, it's just like, woo, it hit me then.
Mm-hmm.
But just to see the joy and the excitement on his face, you know, just to see that he's going to do what he loves.
Right.
And not just that. I'm only 4.5 hours away, you know, driving, you know.
Hop in the ride, let's go.
let's hit it, right? so true. But what about that parent whose son may be going, like I had Major 9 on yesterday, Chad Thomas on the show yesterday, and he had to go all the way to Chicago.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, do they leave? Say, for instance, okay, let's go back. I want to jump into the draft. That's what I want to jump in.
Okay.
So, first rounders, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're at the wherever they hosting the draft at that time, right?
Right.
And the first rounders are there.
Mm-hmm.
Do they leave right away from there straight to their team?
The next day. So what they have to do is say, for example, the draft is that night. Let's say the first day is on a Thursday. Okay, right. So they leave. You know, their name gets called. The next day they're on a flight to whatever team drafts them. Normally they'll be, they'll fly private, team chartered plane or whatever. But they're there so they can do a press conference. They're the first pick in the draft for that particular team. So they're required to be there to do press and different things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now I get it. So say, for instance, you get invited to the draft, right?
Right.
Either you're going first, second, or third. No, first or second.
First or second.
Is it third? First or second. First or second. So was there ever a time when a player was sitting there and didn't go first or second?
Oh yeah, it happens. It happens. And that's one thing as an agent, you have to really know, because it's almost like we have to have this crystal ball, and we have to be able to kind of like forecast or foresee how certain things are going to go. So for me, if I feel like, hey, there's a chance that my guy may not go, then I won't recommend him going to actually sit in the green room. Now, if he's just going to that city or that state to participate in the draft, the draft festivities, then that's a different thing. But if he's actually going to sit in the green room, I mean, I've been there in the green room and I've seen, I remember like it was yesterday. I saw a guy, I won't mention his name, but he was sitting there in the green room all night. Okay. His name never got called. He fired his agent the next day. Okay. Because I think he felt like, hey, you know what? If you knew or you had a feeling that there was a possibility of me not going in this round, then why not recommend to me, hey, maybe it's better if we go get a hotel and we'll have the family in a hotel, or, we'll stay home and do something at the house instead of sitting here in the green room, because now I'm embarrassed because guess what? The cameras are on me.
Yeah.
And the cameras, they're waiting for this guy to get called, waiting for that guy to get called, but I'm still sitting here. So a lot of times if those situations are mismanaged by the agent or by the agent's company, a lot of times guys will get terminated because of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And see, that's, I always wondered that. I know that, the green room is always full,
Right.
but I didn't know that sometimes people walk away without the name being called. That's a little deep right there.
Yeah,
So,
no, it definitely happens.
holy cow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to know. Okay, so you have this parent. You guys are sitting there, and some way the kid name does not get called. What it is that you do? How do you console this? First of all, this young man,
Mhm.
and then what do you say to the family?
So are we still talking about this potential first round player? Or are we just talking about throughout the whole draft? Because
No,
I've
throughout the
seen
whole
both.
draft.
Okay.
Okay, right, throughout the whole draft.
Okay.
You really thought that you were going,
Right.
but some way somehow your name was, not
Never
called.
called. Hmm.
How do
So,
you console these parents and this kid?
well, I think the first thing is you have to be upfront with them. Okay. There's a reason that your name didn't get called, and say that you went through the combine, you went through the pro day, you went to the all-star games, and you were invited to everything. So now we're here at the end, and we're in that sixth or seventh round, and the phones aren't ringing. The kid is distraught, the parents are distraught, the family's distraught, and as an agent, you have to figure out how to hold it together. Okay, that's your responsibility as an agent. How do I hold it together? How do I make sure I maximize this kid's opportunity? So there's conversations. There's a conversation that has to happen. So, for example, I will start with the young man. Let's step outside. Okay, let's have a conversation. Here's what's going on. We've done some calls. We've done some background research to find out what happened here. What was the reason that you didn't get drafted? And a lot of times that's a tough conversation, because a lot of these kids live for getting to the NFL, but also live for getting their name called in terms of the draft. And for that not to happen, it's a very tough conversation to have. But you always got to be black and white. You can never be gray, because if you're black and white and you're upfront and you're honest, and then you go back and you do the research and you find out why certain things played out a certain way, then at least you're upfront. This has nothing to do with the agent. This could potentially have something to do with, an injury or how a team felt about your character. And you have to be able to explain that to the young man and also explain it to the family. So it's just, being straight up, whether it's a good conversation or bad conversation, you just have to have it.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we're gonna go to some of the comments in the comment section.
Okay.
Let's shout out Carolyn Yvonne all the way from Miami, Florida. Hey, beautiful. Shout out the beautiful queen all the way from Live Oaks, Florida. She said, I thank God for you. You have such excellent speakers that really leave such a good impact on others. That's what it's all about. See,
Absolutely.
Ron, that's why I knew I had to get you on. And like I said, it was always we serve an on-time God.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we want some things to happen right then and there, but it's all in God's timing, which a lot of people don't understand. But you said about the character, and this is what so many people do not understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when your child leaves that house, you want that child to represent you.
Correct.
You understand? So now you're going to a team do not, I don't care how good you are. They don't want you bringing a bad rep to their name, to their team, so you have to make sure that you kind of hold all that together.
Right.
So have you ever had a kid who was just could not get it together? Like basically they just, I don't know, couldn't get it together. Just stay in the limelight. Name just was everywhere. So
I will definitely say yes. I've had a few guys that, that just didn't really get it, and a lot of times you can keep, you're trying to pound it and pound it and pound it into them so that they understand, like, hey, like, you may not get more than one opportunity, or you may not get 2 or 3 opportunities. So you have to understand, like, you got to carry yourself a certain way. The NFL doesn't care about, you being a 4-3, 4-4 player, or you catching this amount of touchdowns while you were in college, or you intercepting this amount of passes while you're in college. Yes, they want the best of the best in terms of players, but they also want high character young men that are going to be able to come in here and represent their organization to the fullest. And also as a parent, you want to make sure that your son is representing your name, you know, to the best of their ability. And I think that a lot of times guys get so caught up in the flashy lights and certain things that are going on around them, the company that they keep, and ultimately it can affect, you know, their journey. And you know, I've had a few guys that I've worked with in the past where, you know, you give them opportunities and you don't quit on them, and you want to, you know, you're trying to force it down their throat. So maybe one day that light will come on and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to prepare myself mentally. I'm going to prepare myself physically. I'm going to make sure my business off the field is in order. And sometimes guys, you know, they'll eventually get it. Sometimes they won't, and they're going to be who they are. So I've dealt with a couple. And, but, you know, the one thing about me is, you know, I try not to quit on them, you know, and whether it's, you know, just giving them advice or, you know, trying to put them in the best position possible. I try to do my best to make sure that, you know, I don't leave them out in the cold.
Absolutely. So that's a good thing. Like, you don't quit on them, because
Right.
sometimes some need more work than others.
Right.
And in life, period, I don't care if they're football, wherever they at in life, you have to just know that sometimes it take others to get it longer than it do
Mhm.
some other people. You
Right.
know, like, we can't look down on people because they don't get it how we get it. It don't make them wrong or us right, and us right or them wrong. It's
Right.
just that, you know, everybody have a time to get it, and you can't want it as bad as they want it. Oh, that's
Right.
what I must do say.
Right.
They have to want it just as bad, but sometimes it takes that little push. Sometimes it takes that little, you know, being constructive criticism, or, you know, just not being disrespectful with it, but just basically letting them know, like, look, you know, hey, you might be good, but you gotta know that there's somebody else out there good too. So you better get on your P's and Q's and do what it is that you need
Absolutely.
to do, because your
Absolutely.
job could be, you know, taken away from you. So don't take anything for granted. You know what I'm saying? So here it is, you have this kid, and this kid just, I'm talking about, it's this kid great on and off the field.
Mhm.
You have this kid on and off the field. How does that make you feel as an agent to see that?
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it could be exciting. I mean, I think that, you know, on the field, if you got a guy that's working hard, and excuse me if I answer this wrong, but if you got a guy that's working hard and he's doing all of the right things, and then off the field he's the same thing, he's doing all of the right things, you know, it's definitely how can I put it? It could definitely move you. I think that we see it, like, I've seen it a lot. I've seen guys, you know, ultimately, you know, put themselves in a position where they're doing all the right things, and sometimes they may or may not get the right opportunity. You know, I think everything's about situations. So I've seen it. I think I've seen it from both sides.
Yeah, yeah. That was a good answer. So there was no need to say excuse you, because, like I said, no answer is the wrong answer. You
Right.
know, because you're inside. You're inside. I'm outside looking in.
Right.
And one of the things I told myself, when, because that's all Alan ever talked about, football player, football player, football
Right.
player. He never said anything else that he wanted to be. And I
Yeah.
used to ask, you know, what it is that you want to do when you go football player. And that was just it, you know? So my thing is when you see this, I said, I got to go back to school. I
Yeah.
need to I need to learn this lingo.
Right.
And as anybody know that asks about Alan Hurd's mom, what they gonna say,
Yep. You're right about that. You're right about that.
So that's the thing, you know. I know my stuff, and I remember sitting down. We were talking, and we were chopping it up, you know, a couple of times. And I think you were kind of surprised about some of the stuff that I knew,
That you
you
knew,
know.
correct? Because you
Yeah,
did your
and
homework.
that's Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. As parents, when you have your kids moving to, going to the next level, what it is that you do. Like, you can't expect the agent to do it all. You can't expect the financial advisor to do it all. You can't expect the people that works for them to do it all. You got to know some stuff too. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like,
Yes.
you have a marketing team, you have this financial, you have all of this. So you need to kind of pretty much get your hands a little wet and know what it is that you're dealing with,
Correct.
because you may could come to me and I may look like I don't know, but then I'm gonna let you talk, and then you're gonna be looking at me like, okay, when I start speaking and speaking the lingo that you're speaking, you're gonna be like, oh, she know all the
She
stuff,
knows
so you
something.
can't come to me any kind of way. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
absolutely right. That's absolutely right. One thing that I tell the players is, you got to think about something. Who knows you better than your mother and your father? Okay, so their responsibility is, hey, you know what? Let me help my child through this process. Yes, you're the CEO as an athlete. You're the CEO. Under that umbrella, you have different arms. Your agents are going to be there. Your CPAs are going to be there. Your financial advisors, your nutritionists, your trainers, and your attorneys. But at the same time, your parents are going to be involved, because guess what? They want to make sure that they have a set of eyes on what's going on under that umbrella. And especially for these young men, you got to think, they're coming into the NFL at 21, 22 years old. What do they know? What do they know? And people take advantage of them every day. And as a parent, you want to make sure that, hey, I know I'm educated on this process. I know certain things because I've went and asked questions and I've gotten certain answers. So for someone like yourself who conducts yourself in that manner, I will continue to advise parents, hey, listen, get involved.
Yeah.
Get involved. Your kids are gonna, they're gonna spend money, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, but make sure that you're in a situation where you can continue to educate them on life after football, because like we talked about, it's going to end at some point.
Absolutely. And that's
Mm-hmm.
good that you said that too. But not only that, you have sometimes parents who make their kids feel like they owe them something,
Right.
just because they're in this position. And Ron, like I told Alan, I think it was, I can't remember what game it was, but I know it wasn't even a game. I think it was a practice.
Okay.
And I found out that he was doing this documentary about his biggest fear is letting me down. And I'm like, letting me down? Like, how could you do that? And once I heard, they followed him to school, they followed me to school, and then they came back to the house and they were speaking to me, and to hear some of the things that he was saying. But my thing is, whether he played football or not, I'm still going to love him the same way.
Right.
And, now that he's in the league, Alan don't owe me anything. I asked for high school diploma and a college degree, which I got both. You understand?
Right.
So I don't think a child to put so much pressure on a parent to put so much pressure on a child, because guess what happens? If that child goes out there and do not exceed to the level that they need to,
Right.
that job could be, stripped away from them. So
Right.
what happens if they can't do that for you? Are you going to love them any less? Because I used to hear, oh, when my grandson make it, or when my son make it, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. Ron, it
Right.
haven't really even hit me yet. I think this is Alan, what, seventh year? Well, yeah, 7th year. And it haven't even hit me that, he's in this position. But
Right.
the thing about it is, that's Alan's. It's not Erica's, So what happened when you have this parent, that you have the kid, and the kid wants to do for the parent, but then the parent is making them feel like they have to. So
Right.
the kid is kind of shying back, and the parent comes to you. How do you handle that?
Oh,
Because I know that's hard.
that's where you're going with. I was like, okay, now I get where you're going with. Honestly, I've seen it on both sides. I've seen the player put so much pressure on themselves not to let their parents down, because there's so many things that the player wants to be able to provide for that family. And they feel like, hey, ma, once I get to the league, I got you. I'm going to take care of you. Dad, same thing. And sometimes those careers come up short where they're not able to do certain things. Now, does that mean the parents are going to feel like the kid let them down? In some situations, yes, depending on who you are as a parent, depends on, what you feel like you put into the situation. I have seen it from that point of view. I've also seen, where guys get to the NFL and they make money. Maybe it's not life-changing money, but they made enough money to have a really good life, and they can also put their family in positions to be able to, maybe not have the glitz and glamour and the big homes and this, that, and the other, but maybe they can pay an extra bill here or pay an extra bill there to help out their family. And I think a lot of times the guys feel like I owe it to them because look what they had to sacrifice, and that's why they put so much pressure on themselves to perform at that level. But at the end of the day, like we all, once we become adults, we want to be able to help, our families. We want to be able to put ourselves in position to put our families in a better position to have success. And I think a lot of times we may or may not come up short. And, but I've seen it from both sides. It's a lot of pressure. I've had parents come to me and say, hey, my child hasn't done this or my child hasn't done that, but he's done this for that person or that for this person.
Oh.
And I've seen it, but it's just, your child is going to do at the end of the day what your child wants to do if he feels like it's a priority. That's the best way I can say it.
And that's it. At the end of the day, that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And one of the things, too, that I want to put out there that a lot of people don't understand is tickets are not free. Nothing is free in the NFL.
No, that's coming out your check, baby. That's coming out your check. Yep.
Because a lot of times families fall out about that. They fall out about, because they thinking that you're getting free tickets. No, this comes out these kids' checks faithfully every week.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So Miss Selena says, as a parent, you will stay on top of what's going on to make sure no one will take advantage of. Absolutely, Miss Selena.
Agreed.
Yes, ma'am.
Agreed.
I told Ron, tell him about me.
Agreed. Listen, you talking to the ultimate. You talking to the ultimate right there. I already know. Listen, but that's why I respect you in terms of just the way that you've conducted yourself in terms of raising your son, and I know your story, some of the things that you've gone through, and I applaud you because I look at your children, and sometimes we have this success that people, the lights, the flashy lights and all those different things. But I think the young men that you've raised, are good quality, just people. Forget the sports and all that other stuff. We're just talking about people. So, I commend you in terms of the role that you've played in their lives and with Alan and making sure that, hey, we're going to go with this over here because I want to make sure that this is in order. And when it's time for you to hang these cleats up, you have something to fall back on. So I commend you in terms of how you raised your boys. God,
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Absolutely. And the thing about it is when you're under pressure, a lot of times, okay. I want to say this because I want to put it out there. Everybody wants this life, but they don't understand what comes with this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to jump to the later, but I want to go back. Before.
Okay.
When we were going through this process, Ron, I remember times, and I was telling Major Nine yesterday, I remember times I would come take Alan snacks at school. Ron, I'm running out of gas going back home. I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I was going to be able to buy these snacks, but other people that was around me didn't even see what was going on. So when I tell the story now, they're looking like, I don't know if she's telling the truth because she didn't look like that. But I remember when Alan was in the league, getting that 24 hours of notice on my door of eviction. You see what I'm saying? And I never told him what it was I was going through back at home. You
Right.
understand? Because I wanted him to focus. You know, it
You didn't
wasn't for
want him to be
him to
distracted.
worry. Exactly.
Hmm.
And my thing is when I got that 24-hour notice, I just was like, okay, what do I do? But little did I know, Alan had already had a plan. I never knew that he was going to purchase a house for me or even I just my main thing was, son, get yourself and get your affairs in
Correct.
order. You
Correct.
take care of you. You know what I'm saying? I knew that
Yep.
I was going to be okay because I did it for so long, and the struggle, and people like the kind of like, I don't want to go through that struggle, but baby, you don't know the price that I had to pay to get to where I'm at. So hold on now, because I had to pay a dear price. But I told God, I said, whenever you give us the platform, we're going to use it to pay it forward. So that's why I think, I thank God for nobody didn't bail us out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I thank God
Right.
for the struggle because my kids get it. And that's why Alan is not a big spender. That's
Hmm.
not why he's very good steward of his money. He's very wise in what he do, what he say, and how he present himself.
Right. Right.
Because the struggle will, it could break you or it can make you. And I thank God that it made us. You understand, for who we are
Absolutely.
today. So whatever we do when we go out in the community to serve, we're doing it wholeheartedly. We're not doing it for show. Well, listen, we're not doing it for show. We're not doing it because this is something that, it's for God's glory.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in a
Wouldn't
position.
be in this position.
We would not even be in this position because my thing
Absolutely.
is, you're just one mistake away from being that homeless person. Ron,
Hmm.
I was homeless, sleeping in my car. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I was told no, that I couldn't take a bath at a family member's house. But then you have, when a child gets to make it to somebody, make it, where they can take care of, mom or whatever. It's like, oh, are you still upset with this person? No, I'm not upset. I thank God for them. Do you
Hmm.
still speak to this person? Absolutely. Because
Hmm.
my thing was that no put some fire inside of me. You see? So don't despise those struggles that you're going through, is where I'm going with it. So
Understood.
then the later comes along, Ron, and I know you can see it. Homeboys, families come out the woodwork, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Let's hear about these tickets, because they're not for free. Again,
Right.
NFL tickets are not for free. They faithfully come out these guys' paychecks every week. So what
Every week.
happens when you get all of these tickets for these people and now you have this big bill?
Hmm. Well, I mean, we get, what I tell the guys all the time is like, hey, you know what? If you got family members asking for tickets, you're going to cap it at a certain number. And once you cap it at that number that you're comfortable with, then just put it on us. Say, hey, you know what? Call my agent. Da, 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 da. I'm okay with saying no. I'm okay with saying no. If we can figure out a way to get some more tickets, potential free situation, then we'll try to do what we can. But ultimately, you shouldn't be asking a kid to spend $15,000 out of his check to get family members tickets to one game. We're talking one game. Every game is about 100 and some change per ticket. And what I try to do is just instead of being that yes man, sometimes you gotta say no. You gotta be that I guess the negative person. I guess that's the way it's seen as. But you're trying to protect these guys from blowing a lot of cash. And ultimately, like, I've been in that position a number of times, and you can't help everybody. You can't do for everybody. So
Yeah. So true, so true. We are 1 minute out, but I do want to thank you. I know I have to bring you back so we could talk more, because it's
we
definitely
definitely
so
do.
much. Yes, it's so much more that we definitely can put out there, because people need to know this thing here. It has its pros, but it
Yep.
also has its cons.
And we
Do
talk about it
believe.
all the time. We talk about it all the time. We've had conversations, and you always tell me like, hey, just keep on going, keep on going. Watch the company that you keep. Watch the people that you do business with. I remember our early conversations going back 6-7 years ago, and it was like, hey, watch the people around you, and you were preparing me. Truth be told, you were preparing me, and I'll never forget those conversations, because as hard as it was to hear it, I actually thank you now for those conversations. So I appreciate it.
You know what? It's so funny that you mentioned it, because I wasn't going to mention it. And I'm telling you, I was just talking to this young lady who was at my back to school bash, because I just finished that. Oh, I'm so tired. But I was just telling her about the situation. And I said, you know what? And that's the thing, is like, when people come to you and they tell you stuff that they see, it's not that they're trying to, cause any trouble. I was doing what thus says the Lord. I'm showing you what's around you, but at the time, one can't see that. So I thank God for the spirit of discernment, and you listen, and then had a nerve to come back and say, okay, Miss Wilson, yeah, you were right.
You were right.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
That's what I told you. You were right.
You sure did. And I remember the prayers and all of that, so I do thank God for us crossing paths. And we don't talk all the time, but when we do, it be some good talk and very productive. Very, very productive. So again, I love what you're doing as far as how you leading and guiding these guys, educating them. That is so wonderful. But not only that, I love how you started off. So guys, don't despise small beginners. He started off as a high school coach, not getting paid much. It wasn't about the money. It was about the kids. Then went up and moved up to the college level?
No, right to the agent level.
Really?
I dived in. I actually interned for a second, and I just knew that this was my calling. Like, I knew that, even though I wasn't, it wasn't something that was done overnight. I knew it was a journey, but it was really my calling, and that's why I believe I've had the success that I've had. But ultimately, it made me the person that I am today. I love it.
Absolutely. And guys, that's why our topic today is catching flights and not feelings, because this young man's journey to success, he went from being a high school coach to a NFL agent that he do so very well. Guys, we're here live today with the girl, Erica Wilson, and it had to happen. I have the Ron Butler, which is an NFL agent and an awesome person. I cannot stress enough. But guys, meet me back here on Monday at 5:30 for our prayer broadcast. I'm telling you, Flight 2021 goes higher and higher. My covenant partner, the Bishop Kenny Berry, and the Satara Bunch, and the baddest producer on this side of heaven, Miss Mishka Allen. God's willing, meet us back here at 5:30. If you would like to book with your girl, please do go to my website at www.ericawilsonih2h.com. Again, www.ericawilsonih2h.com. Guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Tell your friend and tell a friend and tell a friend to hit that subscribe button. It don't cost anything. It is free. Again, Mr. Butler, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I want to have you back sooner than later, especially with the season started. I will be in Miami this weekend to see Alan's first live practice. Very excited. And to the audience, our audience rock. You guys rock. Thank you so much. We could not do this without you, and you. So we're forever grateful for you all. I'm sending out virtual hugs and a whole bunch of love. Until next time, Mr. Butler, we'll chop it up. We'll be in contact. Definitely. We will. Absolutely. But thank you. Is there anything before we go? I like to open up the floor. Is there anything you would like to leave with someone before we go?
I would just want to say thank you for the opportunity. The other thing is, if you have any questions, any of the guests, if you have any questions, I could be reached on my Instagram, Agent Butler 1. I'm also on Twitter at Agent Butler 1. If you have any questions about what it is that I do and how I can be I guess you can say a GPS in your process of helping young men or helping young women, feel free to reach out. I'm here. I make myself available.
You see that? That's what happened here on It Had to Happen. Guys, until next time, may you all please be safe. Wear your mask. I'm going to say that every show. I don't care if you're vaccinated or not. Please do wear your mask. But again, God bless you all. We'll see you on Monday, God's willing. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Erica's
You're welcome.
Empowering Empire. 88 Blessings Soar Movement. It had to happen in a beauty so rare. We'd love for you to join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. It Had to Happen with Erica Wilson. Following our social media.